Everybody, and we hope that you had a great Christmas.
I'm sure that we did.
So, today we're going to do a book haul and then we're going to talk about a cumulative review of recipes we've cooked for the past couple of years and talk about what recipes we're planning to cook for the coming year. So did you want to go first?
Sure. First book that I have on here is called Dreams to Dust. Now, this book that I have here looks like it's about the Oklahoma land rush by Sheldon Russell. And what I happened was I picked out this book out of thin air when Jean and I were in Wilmington, Massachusetts for her family's ultimate Christmas party at an Italian restaurant in Wilmington, Massachusetts.
So the first book in my haul is also from that same grab that we did at the family Christmas party. The book that I got is Here One Moment by Leanne Moriarty. I have read two of her other books this year, which are called The Hypnotist Love Story, and there was one more that I can't remember the name of, but I gave The Hypnotist Love Story 5 stars. I gave the second book I read by her 4 stars, and this one got 3.75 stars, which is pretty close to 4. Basically, this book is about a woman who interviews people on a plane about like what would they do in the moments before they die. So actually, this would be a book we could maybe have a philosophy discussion about. Maybe we can talk about that with Crystal. Your turn.
This next book I have on here is a bestseller by Emily St. John Mandel called Station 11. And Anne Patchett says it's so compelling, fiercely imagined, and he wouldn't have put it down for anything. And what would you miss, that they say? So this will be the next book I read after the Dreams to Dust.
A few booktubers I have watched videos on have reviewed that book and they have said it's really good. The next book that I got for Christmas is And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie. I got this from my neighbor, um, Kathleen. So thank you, Kathleen, for the present. So this is my favorite Agatha Christie novel. We have seen the play before. It was at the Amato Center in 2012, and our friends Kevin and Sophie played Captain Lombard and Vera Claythorne. And I just love solving this mystery, so I can't wait to read this book again.
I also asked for Christmas a book from Allie Hazelwood, since Janine has been reading books from her. And this one is called Love on the Brain. So,
So I gave that book 4.5 stars. So it's my second favorite top ranked book after Bride, which was her paranormal romance from last February. The next book I got from my friend Anna in New Hampshire, so thank you, Anna. This book is by Burt Bennett. It was part of the Good Morning America book club, and um, it is called The Vanishing Half. It's a mystery, and this mystery was really fun to solve. No spoilers in case you want to read it, but I gave it 4.5 stars on Goodreads.
and I like to be involved with 1990s nostalgia, and this one is called Quizopedia 90s TV, the ultimate book of trivia. So maybe Jeannie and I will have some fun and playing it down the road.
I hope so. The next book is another book I got from my neighbor Kathleen. It's called How to End a Love Story. This was Reese's book club pick for May, and it is a romantic comedy about a uh a screenwriter for a movie and the romance between her and the scriptwriter. And it's very sad actually because she lost her sister in a bad accident, and it turns out that the guy who's the scriptwriter accidentally killed her. So like there's a little sadness tinged between your romance, and they kind of trauma bond because of the accident. But other than that, this was this author's debut, and she is the screenwriter for the Beach Read movie. Beach Read is my favorite one of my favorite Emily Henry books. So I'm excited to see how she brings this movie to the screen. And I gave this book 3.5 stars on Goodreads.
And here's a classic book, Fahrenheit 451 by Bradbury. And this authorized adaptation from Tim Hamilton is a graphic novel. So I started reading one of them last year, and it really gets you into the story where you are reading the pictures along with the characters' words.
I read Fahrenheit 451 when I was in either middle school or high school. I can't remember what grade I was in, but I remembered that it led us to having a good discussion in class about burning books. So I can't wait to read that after you're done with it. The next book I got for Christmas is from my cousins, Victoria and Olivia. They gave me this travel guide for places that are America's pop culture landmarks, so places that were the settings for books or TV shows or movies or historical events. So I have, as you can tell by my tabs, I have already gone through this book and highlighted places that I want to visit. So thank you, Victoria and Olivia. We can't wait to travel to these places, especially the place that Gilmore Girls is based off of.
Here's another graphic novel, Jules Verne's Journey to the Center of the Earth. Now, this and the other one I mentioned were both birthday and Christmas gifts that I received.
What's Journey to the Center of the Earth about again?
Oh, really? It's about Axel and his uncle who is finding a path to the center of the Earth.
Okay. So the next book is a book that my mother-in-law Sally gave me for Christmas, and it is the biography of a theater reviewer for the New York Times. So what I'm hoping to get from, maybe we should read this book together, because maybe we can get some tips for how we can review plays better, because this person reviewed plays for the New York Times, so maybe we should read this together at somehow. I don't know how we can read it at the same time.
Well, why don't you tell me when you're reading it?
I'm probably going to start it after I read Tom Selleck's book, because I'm almost done with that. Okay, your turn.
Now, another graphic novel I have here that I got on my birthday is Watership Down. Now, when Jane and I watched an episode of the TV series adaptation on Netflix, I really was amazed by how the rabbits in the country of Great Britain were all together to find mysteries. It turned out to be something very interesting to learn about.
The next book that I got from my mother-in-law was Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter. This was one of my favorite Lynn Painter books that I have read this year. The sequel that came out in September was a 5-star read. This book was a 4-star read. It tells the story of and Wes and Liz. Wes is a sweetheart. He's one of my favorite male characters in a romance book, followed by Jack from Love Theoretically. And each chapter in this book starts with a quote from a romantic comedy movie. So I will read you the quote from chapter 12. He had kissed her long and good. We got banned from the pool forever that day, but every time we walked by after that, the lifeguard looked down from his tower right over at Squints and smiled. That's from The Sandlot, which is a baseball movie which we haven't watched yet, so we will be watching that in the spring along with Moneyball.
Another graphic novel I have here is George Takei, They Called Us Enemies. So it's really when you think about the world of anime.
Yeah, so George Takei, I believe he's from Star Trek, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So the next book that I got for Christmas from my mother-in-law is Matt Haig's The Midnight Library. This book was hyped up by several people that I follow on BookTube. I've seen With Cindy recommend it. I think Destiny and Sarah and Haley have all talked about it too. So this is another book that we can have philosophy-based discussions about, because it's kind of like It's a Wonderful Life, but this girl is about to kill herself, and she is in a magical library, and she gets to relive her life in different ways instead of her seeing what life would be like without her. So maybe we can read this book and then just compare it to It's a Wonderful Life.
I have one more book here, and it is called Goodnight Pon Pon. And I think this one is just an average kid in an average town. And it's a creator by Solon and What a Wonderful World. So this graphic novel, I think of all the ones, really kind of has the most illustrations. And I really like this drawing right here of this bird-like.
Gabby talked about that and she highly recommended it. So when I was Christmas shopping for you, I decided to pick that book up because she said a lot of good things about it. So now I'm really excited to see what we think about it. We can also review this together at a later date.
Oh, you're so kind, Janine.
The next book I wanted to talk about is The Boyfriend by Frida McFadden. I have read 2 books by Frida McFadden so far, The Housemaid, which I gave 5 stars, and Never Lie, which was 4.5 stars. So right now I am on page 70. I am on chapter 12. And this female main character is sort of annoying. I can't really stand her. So I don't want to give any spoilers away for what happens, but she's just annoying and I don't like her. The next book that I got from my mother-in-law is Kristen Hanna's The Nightingale. The Great Alone and The Nightingale both got 4.75 stars, which is pretty close to 5. This book is set during World War II, and it's about 2 sisters who are living through the war. Their names are Vianne and, what's the other one's name? Vianne and Isabel. So I read this book earlier this year because I was on a kick of reading books set in World War II because I want to write a historical fiction story set in that time period. I think between this book and all the other books that I have set during World War II, I think I have great research done. The next book is called, I also got this from my mother-in-law. It's called I Was Born for This. This is by the same person who wrote Heartstopper. And I really have loved the Heartstopper comic strip, so I was happy when I was putting my wish list together on Amazon and came across this book. This is about a girl named Angel who falls in love with a rock star in a local rock band. And the reason why I picked out this book was because the main male character makes me think of Lane from Gilmore Girls because she's in a rock band, although she plays the drums, and this main character plays the guitar. The second to last book I got for Christmas was from Matt, and it's called The Pumpkin Spice Cafe. This is the first book in the Dream Harbor series. So this is sort of similar to the series by Ashley Herring Blake, which is set in a town in Oregon that is similar to Stars Hollow from Gilmore Girls, but instead of being set in Oregon or Connecticut, these books are set in Dream Harbor, which is a town in Canada. So so far I am on chapter 16 and I am really enjoying this book. I have also read the 3rd book in this series. I borrowed it from my upstairs neighbor. It's called The Christmas Tree Farm, and I actually like Love Light Farms by B.K. Borison a lot more than The Christmas Tree Farm. So this series has a new book coming out in the springtime. So to be caught up with reading the rest of the series, the only book I still need to read from it is called The Cinnamon Bun Bookstore, which is book 2. And the final book in this holiday book haul is The Great Alone by Kristen Hanna. This is set in the 1970s. It focuses on a teenage girl named Lenny, and it's her coming of age story. Her dad is a Korean War vet, so this is another book that is similar to The Shining by Stephen King, where the father character is an alcoholic. And I also like the romantic lead character, the boy. His name is Matthew, that the main female character Lenny falls in love with. And so right now in my reread, because I read this a couple of months ago, I am on page 140. I just finished chapter 8. Okay, so the next part of this video, we're going to talk about a cumulative review of recipes that we have made throughout the past couple of years for various cookbooks that we own on a shelf over there. The first cookbook we wanted to review recipes from was the Broadway musical cookbook, which is a cookbook that Patty gifted us in 2017. So this cookbook has a bunch of different recipes in it that are inspired by different Broadway musicals like Annie Get Your Gun, The Fantastics, The Music Man, and stuff like that. So the first recipe I wanted to mention is chop suey. We had made this a couple of times before. What was your favorite thing that you liked about chop suey?
It's a very basic recipe that all you just need is some ground beef, tomato, and macaroni. And if you cook it like your grandparents used to do, then you really can follow on.
The next recipe that was our favorite that we made from this cookbook is enchiladas, which is a basic Mexican recipe that we make throughout the year because we have other cookbooks that have enchilada recipes in them. The next recipe from the Broadway musical cookbook that we really like is the Fantastic Vegetable Casserole. We made this for a potluck supper that we had with Sohegan Valley Chorus one time, and all of our chorus friends really loved it. And it's a basic vegetarian casserole. What did we put in it?
Did it start off with zucchini?
It had zucchini, I think it had carrots, and I think it had, like, broccoli. I'm sure we can just look at the recipe to remind ourselves what was in it.
Yeah, if you try casseroles like that, then they're very healthy.
The next cookbook we like making recipes from is the Disney World cookbook, which is divided up into the different theme parks of Disney World. So when we made recipes from this cookbook, we would pick a recipe from like Magic Kingdom or Animal Kingdom or the Epcot World Showcase. So one of our favorite recipes is a maple glazed salmon, which is from Le Cellier restaurant in the World Pavilion, Showcase Pavilion in Epcot, in the Canada restaurant, which we have never eaten at before, but once we plan our trip to Disney World for sometime next year when we go for my birthday, maybe that's one of the restaurants we can try to go to because we didn't get to go there the last time we went. Um,
And then also there's the mushroom medley.
The mushroom medley, I believe, is related to The Little Mermaid. So we have made this before when we have watched The Little Mermaid live action movie. And it's a very healthy vegetarian recipe that we highly recommend. The next recipe from
The Magic Kingdom.
is Cinderella's cheese French toast. So we made this for breakfast on the day I had my PTA play audition for Cinderella in 2021, and it really filled me up so I was not hungry during my audition.
It is pretty filling, so I would recommend if you make French toast yourself, don't put in that what the ingredients tell you to, like the cream cheese or anything. Just use the egg, and I would strongly recommend for sweetening cinnamon.
So the next cookbook that I'm sure you've seen recipe pictures of on Instagram is from the Friends Cookbook. We have used this recipe a lot in the past couple of years, and especially to honor Matthew Perry's death. So our first favorite recipe from this cookbook is Carol and Susan's chicken polenta. And we paired this with the pigs in a blanket. So this recipe is from the episode of Friends where it's Carol and Susan's wedding and Monica is tasked to fill in for the caterer because she injures her leg in an accident. And I love this episode because First of all, in the 1990s, when this episode first aired, gay and lesbian marriages were not really as talked about as they are now. So when you see Carol, played by Jane Sibbett, and Susan, played by Jessica Hatch, get married, it was like really iconic for the time period. And I followed Jane Sibbett on Instagram because her daughter Violet and her do a live stream chat. They haven't done it in a couple of months, but I have really loved communicating with them. They're both very sweet people. So what did we rate this recipe? The chicken polenta dish.
I think we rated it maybe 8 stars out of 10.
The next recipe we wanted to talk about is Chandler's grilled cheese. This is from the season 1 Thanksgiving episode where they're having Thanksgiving dinner, and Chandler hates Thanksgiving because it was when his parents got divorced. So let me flip the page over because I have our recipe ranking for this recipe written down. I came prepared with this particular ranking. So last Christmas, for our Christmas party, we made the grilled cheese in art class, and everybody in art class at Double House gave it 10 out of 10, and we gave it 8.5 out of 10. And the episode ranking gets 5.5 out of 10, B minus. The next Friends cookbook recipe we wanted to talk about is the veggie lasagna episode. The veggie lasagna recipe, and we have made this recipe a couple of times. It's really one of our favorite vegetarian recipes.
And we like to use, when we are making lasagna, the kind of pre-made oven-ready lasagna for easy use. And since Jean and I are just alone, all we just really need is a single layer and a perfect portion for the two of us. And I have a small enough casserole dish for that.
So another recipe I wanted to talk about that I didn't list on this initial sheet of paper was the Moist Maker sandwich. This is from the recipe where Ross's coworker accidentally eats his Thanksgiving Day sandwich and he gets fired because he overreacts about his coworker eating his sandwich. And in the side plot, Rachel and Phoebe are taking a literature class at the New School, and they read Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte and Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. We gave the recipe 8.5 out of 10, and I also enjoyed the sandwich when I ate it at the Central Park Cafe on Newbury Street in Boston when we went in August on the way home from our hall vacation. And for the books, we have reviewed the books in previous videos. We gave The Shining a B minus, and I gave Wuthering Heights. Oh, I'm sorry, not The Shining. The Shining was in another episode. I gave Wuthering Heights and Jane Eyre C's and 3.5 stars. And then another recipe I wanted to talk about really quickly before we move on to the next cookbook recipe is the Swedish meatballs. We made this recipe with pasta, and it's a really good recipe to make. We gave this recipe 7 out of 10, and then this recipe is from the episode where Chandler and Monica take the fertility test to find out if they can get pregnant, and they get a negative result. And the reason why that's my favorite episode is because you can really feel Chandler and Monica's pain when they find out that they can't get pregnant, and Matthew Perry's and Courtney Cox's acting in that scene in particular is so moving, and it makes me cry every single time. The next cookbook I wanted to talk about is Noom. So we have been doing Noom for the past year. It took me a while to get into into the groove with it. I fluctuated with my weight loss for a long time, but at the beginning of December, when I had my physical, I found out that I lost 7 pounds, which is great, and I hope I continue to go on that trajectory because my goal at the beginning of starting Noom was to lose 15 pounds.
I know I have ambitions to lose a little bit more than that, and when I started in July of 2023, my weight wasn't where I expected, but ever since then, I've lost more than Janine's probably prediction myself. You see me in older videos looking a little bit more kind of burly and chubby compared to I am right now.
So our favorite recipes from the Noom cookbook are chilaquas, which is like an egg dish that we make for breakfast. It comes from Mexico, and actually, this recipe is also in the Friends cookbook, and we have made this recipe from both cookbooks. Now, how would you make a comparison between the recipe that we have made from Noom and the recipe we have made from Friends cookbook?
Now, Friends Cookbook, they tell you to put in some more ingredients to make it like they would expect you to make on the television show. But the Noom Cookbook, this is more of a calorie counter for healthier eating. So
So how would you rank the I can't even pronounce this word. Chilaquas recipe from Friends versus Noom.
I think either one was a good idea for breakfast, but in my honest opinion, I think it was more basic with the Noom and that I liked a little bit better. I rated on average like 8 out of 10.
Yeah, I agree. The next cookbook recipe that we made from Noom.
Chicken piccata pasta.
What did you like the best about this recipe?
Chicken piccata with pasta is a really basic dish, especially on the Italian side. And it's really easy to make if you have some store bought grilled chicken to do it yourself, some pasta, and it's kind of a lot of fun.
The final recipe from the Noom cookbook that I wanted to talk about is the sweet potato shepherd's pie. Now, we had originally intended to make the shepherd's pie from the Friends cookbook, but we realized that that was a little bit too fattening, so we decided to make this recipe instead, and I think that was a good choice for us
I
because
think so.
it was very fewer calories and less fat, and I gave it 9 out of 10. What did you give it?
I agree with Eugene.
The final cook so we did a series this year where we cooked recipes from different books that I read. The first recipe I wanted to mention is crepes. This was from Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez because the main male character in this romance book, which is the first book in the Part of Your World series, Daniel works at a bed and breakfast, and the most well-known breakfast dish is crepes. What did you rate this recipe? Because I didn't write the rating down. I
I
forgot
kind of
to.
rated it 8 out of 10. And when I tried to make the crepes for the first time, the hardest part is making it as thin as possible when you are on the doing it in the pan. So that's the trick of it is try to get the batter thin as possible before you flip it over and try not to brown. So it wasn't the easiest thing. I ended up adding some baking powder and making the mix into pancakes.
The next recipe that we made from an Abby Jimenez book is called chicken and rice soup from Life's Too Short, which is the third book in the Friend Zone series, which is the book I raised the highest in that series. I gave that book 4.5 stars. I gave the second book, The Happy Ever After Playlist, 4.75, and then I gave the first book, The Friend Zone, 2.75, and then for the Part of Your World series, all of those books got 4.5 stars. The next recipe we wanted to talk about from our Cooking with Book series is beef stroganoff, which is from Winter Garden by Kristen Hanna. I have read Winter Garden twice, and it's a it's a family drama about two sisters who move back to their hometown to take care of their mother, who is a survivor of the Holocaust, who has Alzheimer's disease, and it's a very powerful story about sisterhood and family. And I just really, there are two storylines: the present day storyline, and then the second storyline in this book is actually really interesting because it's a fairy tale that the mother is telling her daughters about her life during the Holocaust. So I thought that was cool. That was a cool way to tie in the World War II story.
And then we also have on the list Knishes at Midnight at the Christmas. So
So this book was from a Christmas book that I read earlier this month when I was doing my author focus on Jenny Colgan. Jenny Colgan is an author from Ireland, and what I love the most about her books is that I have never been to this country, and I really love the picture she paints of the countryside. I have read, aside from her Christmas books, I have also read The Bookshop on the Corner, which is a summer book. I read that book back in June, and I have given all of her books 4.5 stars.
So what happened on the Knishes recipe is the one thing that we're currently missing right now in order to make the dough is a rolling pin.
And we got a gift card for Christmas to Crate and Barrel that we plan on using to buy that.
I
And
could also buy it if they have one like that at the store on Commercial Street. Now, the reason we need a good rolling pin is because when Jean and I went on Christmas Day to my parents' house, my mother told me to get a French rolling pin that's kind of thin, and you could use it for not only rolling out the dough, but also pounding it in case you want to make kind of things like a beef or whatever you need it to make it thin. So when I listen to my mother for suggestions all the time when I'm cooking, so I give my hats off to her.
so the cookbooks that we want to make more recipes out of in the coming year that we haven't used in a long time include Cooking for Two. We have two different Cooking for Two cookbooks. One Cooking for Two cookbook that Lenny Hodgins from Plus Company gave us as a Christmas present in 2022 or 2021, and America's Test Kitchen.
We also have one pot because we have a crock pot, and I found when using that I can make all kinds of different slow cooked recipes, especially if I don't have a lot of time to cook dinner on certain nights.
And those are also good recipes to make on very cold winter nights, like we will have in the upcoming months too. The next cookbook that we have is a cookbook I actually got as a fundraiser through Plus Company that the education program for the cooking class put together. So the reason why I want to make recipes from this cookbook again is because it makes me think of my friends that I took classes with in the adult education program of Plus Company for nostalgia. And then the final cookbook is Rachel Ray.
Because on her cooking series on Food Network, she really brought a lot of charm and ideas to the table and for people to make fresh recipes. Now, here's a little example that I made once upon a time when I first went to Jean's house for dinner. There was a recipe in Rachel Ray's cookbook that I got, which was about French onion dip pizza. I bought different kinds of mushrooms and cheese and onions. And I made it one time, and Janine's mother really thought that was delicious. And she's been wondering if I would ever cook that again.
Didn't you make that for the Family Olympics one time?
Maybe I did make it for the Family Olympics, but that was such a while ago. I haven't made it since.
That's a recipe you should make again then.
Maybe I will.
I got a gift card for Christmas for Apple from my in-laws, and I was wondering if you viewers out there could leave me a comment with audiobook recommendations for me to download because I want to make good use of the gift card that I got. So, if you have read any of the books that we mentioned today, please leave a comment also below letting us know what you think of them. And we will be back at the end of next month with our December and January wrap-up video where we will be talking about the Wicked movie and other books and movies and TV shows we've been watching and reading.
And if I
So,
make another YouTube video on my own based on the books that I've got, then I can tell you all about my thoughts on them as well. So
when do you think you'll post a reading update video?
I might do it within the next couple months.
Cool. Thank you for tuning in. Have a great start to 2025, everybody.
No hangovers.